Let's see, give me 1 second, just checking my notes. Okay, so delta. So let's talk about delta now, because I think delta is probably the most common Greek, the most common kind of risk variable with perspective to options that you'll hear about. It's the first one that always comes up, and there's a lot of misunderstanding about delta. So delta, the common sense definition that most people use is delta is the percentage probability, because delta always goes from 0 to 1 or 0 to 100%. It can be negative if it's a put, you know, but well, different people measure that differently. But so the most common thing that I've heard about delta is, hey, this is the probability it's going to end up in the money. That's okay for thinking about it, but it's not quite accurate. So today I'm going to actually show you what delta is. So in this case, you don't even have to worry about calculating delta, because we have a formula called BS delta. It uses all the same things as the price are used. So that's pretty straightforward, right? But how can we figure that out if we don't have a formula? And how do we understand what that means? What does 0.38 mean about this, right? So I'm going to give you a little example here. So whenever we talk about risk, forget about, just like I told you with thinking about the options price, you just want to, when you try to remember the key variables, you just ask yourself, what's good for the option holder? What do they benefit from? More time, more volatility, you know, higher price if it's a call option. So, you know, whenever we think about risk, again, all risk boils down to is asking yourself the question, what's bad for me or good for me? What happens to my portfolio? What happens to my wallet, my P&L, my money if things change? And so that's really all we're going to do with our option pricer. And this is exactly what the pros do too. I'll show you how we can make it more complicated in a moment. But basically, if we want to see how the price of our option changes, because ultimately if we bought this call option, this 580 call option, we want the value of that call to go up. So we're going to see how it changes as the price goes up. It turns out delta is just a fancy way of saying, I want to know how much the value of my option is going to go up if the underlying price goes up. So we're just focusing on one of those three key variables that we talked about: time, volatility, and underlying price. So delta tells us how much this is going to go up. So let's note down here that when the underlying price is at 560, the price of the option is 1406. Now let's see what happens. And remember that this delta is 0.38. So let's see what happens when the price goes up to, say, 570. So when we put it up to 570, the price went up to 1821. I'm just going to add. Okay, so when we moved the price up to 570, the price went up to 1821. So what you can see is that the price going up causes an increase in the value of the option. So this isn't Vega, this is delta. So we're going to look and we're going to see that this is this tells us that delta is going to be about 41.5.